Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for True show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to A Time for True show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and it's a pleasure to welcome you back with us again tonight. And tonight's show is really special because, you know, if you think back when we were little kids, what'd you like to do aside from eating chocolate and stuff like that? You wanted to go see the movies, and you wanted to enjoy your favorite movie. You know, I don't know about you, but mine was always action, outer space, science fiction, Star Trek, you know, Star Wars, things like that. A galaxy far away. And so tonight we're very lucky because we have two such acclaimed filmmakers, creators. And we're very lucky also, and I want to announce that they're going to be speaking at our global A Time for Truth United Nations Conference on May 16th in New York City at the UN. And we'll introduce them with no further delay. And Buddha, if you put their pictures on the screen, I want to start introducing Bayou, Bennett, and Daniel Lear of Dream Team Directors, acclaimed filmmakers known for blending cinematic beauty with purpose-driven storytelling. For over 15 years, they've earned amazing over 77 awards. They've created socially conscious films across all genres, rooted in emotion and containing global perspective. Their latest film, Connection, follows a fashion social media influencer on a transformational journey, awakening to the global impact of her everyday actions. They've collaborated with stars like Michelle Pfeiffer, Jane Fonda, Mark Ruffalo, and Grammy winners Lindsey, Stirling and Coldplay. Their human rights message themed film, Tombstone Pillow, sheds light on the 6,000 people living in Manila's cemeteries and earned 35 international honors, including Best Drama, Best Cinematography, and Best Message. There you see them together. What a beautiful couple they make. Their historical female empowerment film, Time is Eternal, won Best Picture and Best Director at La Jolla Fashion Film Festival. Together, they inspire with stories that spark change, evoke empathy, and highlight the human spirit. And Buddha, if we bring them up live, let's bid a warm welcome to Bayou, Bennett and Daniel Lear, 77 times award-winning filmmakers, Dream Team Directors, and there they are. We got to give them a nice round of applause. Wow. Amazing. Thank you for being here.
It's an honor. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
We're blessed to be in your humanitarian, world and space.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. And you know what? I want to ask start right at the beginning because I know the viewers want to know, and I'll start out with Bayou. Bayou, what were your dreams when you were a little girl?
Well, I had a few dreams and I made most of them come true, but it was really just to be an artist because I grew up with artistic family members and a whole bunch of musicians, and they were traveling around the world and uplifting people in that way. And I thought, well, how can I uplift people? So I did start as a dancer and then moved to a professor of filmmaking. I was the first one to teach in the Parsons New School right in New York, and then from there, I moved up. I was like, well, how can I reach more people and make a difference? And it was through filmmaking. And I was doing filmmaking before I met Daniel. And then when we came together, we became the dream team. And then we've been doing that humanitarian work since then. So I'd say all my dreams kind of came true, from being a dancer, professor, to now filmmaker, and then being with my wonderful husband.
Wow, well, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, yes. And you know what, Dan? Now it's your turn. So what were your dreams when you were a young guy?
Oh, Ben, I was a little bit of a late bloomer. I think I was just really interested in skateboarding and, going to the beach and being in the ocean. And I was just searching and searching, but I could never find that thing to really express myself with and feel grounded with. And I tried pretty much every art form. And finally, I took a class at Art Center College of Design and Film. And I really felt like this was the thing that it's just clicked. Everything clicked for me. And I felt like I finally had a purpose in life, which brought me a lot of stability and a lot of purpose in my life. And I'm very grateful for that.
Amazing. And now, I want to ask you, because, you're a guy like me, so we'll do like a guy thing here. So, how did you find this lady? How did this happen? You really, I got to give you an award. Wow.
Well, I pretty much lucked out, Ben, Dr. Ben, but what I did is I actually took a piece of paper and I wrote on there specifically what kind of woman I wanted in my life. Like, I was very detail oriented about how she looked and, what it would be like to be in a relationship with her and the things that we would share in common. And so a summer in 2007, I'm sitting on Ludlow Street on the Lower East Side in New York, your hometown. And I was sitting there with my veggie dog at Earth Matters, which was an Israeli vegetarian cafe, and this beautiful woman walks out of the yoga class with her yoga mat, and there was just one seat available in the whole cafe, and she's like, "Can I sit here?" And I was like, "Yes, you can sit. Yes, please be my guest." And that's kind of how it happened.
Wow, that's what you call fate. Amazing. You know what, engineer, get me some paper, please. I need some paper really quick. Now, you know what? It sounds like the story of my wife and I, Maria, and, I'm very lucky like you, and we have beautiful, and wives inside, outside, all the way through, and it's so important. So, I wanted to ask you both now, and it can be whoever wants to answer, it makes no difference to the both. So what inspired you to focus your filmmaking? Because it wasn't just on anything, but you did it really on social impact and on purpose-driven stories. Why is that?
That's a really good question. Well, as we first sat down in that first date, first of all, I think we realized that Bayou was living on 11th Street between Avenue B and C, and I was too, but we didn't meet, right? And then we moved all over the city, and then finally we ended up on Norfolk and Suffolk Street, like two parallel streets again. And so what I'm trying to say is we were just always seemed to be on the same page. It just took meeting. And the first films that we were making when we met each other that we were doing separately were films that really were entertaining, but were they were social impact films, And so I feel like it always just came naturally to want to make a difference. And so when we did our first film together in New York, we filmed it in Queens, and it was a story about the texting generation, and the film went completely viral. And we received honors from Fox Searchlight and DreamWorks. It was a film about human communication and the lack of in the digital era, in the social media era. So we were making people laugh, but we were getting them to think too. And because that became so successful, I think that became sort of like our trademark.
Wow, that's beautiful. And so how do you choose, I'm just curious, and Bayou, maybe, why don't you answer this one? How do you both decide to choose the issues that you see globally that you want to spotlight in your film creations?
Well, it's interesting because I believe, so Daniel brought up the Text Me, the film. It's now viral. It's been played in Times Square. It won several awards. But at that point, we started to see the issue of not as much human communication, too much of this texting, and or on Facebook. And we were like, okay, well, we need to bring it back to human connections so that we could see the issue at hand.
In her students, actually, Bayou.
Right. They were my students at that time. I was actually teaching for New York Institute of Technology, and I was like, wow, they're texting each other.
Instead of talking to each other.
Yeah. So I was like, we saw it with our eyes. So we said we have to write a film about this. Well, fast forward to now, there's so many issues. When we were in the Philippines with there was a company called Hope for the World Foundation, and it was kind of like Doctors Without Borders. And when we were there, we saw 6,000 families living in the cemeteries. And we said, okay, we have to do something about that. And then right now we're doing, one on clean air. And so every time something comes up in our universe that needs to be handled, that's somehow we pull in a project. Either we come up with the idea or somebody comes to us and we say, wow, that needs to be handled and we need to do something about it now.
Wow, I got to interject something that just, it blows my mind as you're saying this, because now I see why we're actually collaborating on May 16th and this global conference at the UN that's on all of these factors that we really have to get in the world. Wow, it's I'm so happy this is happening. And, we have so much to cover. Let me get to the next thing I want to ask you, because you've done so much. I mean, to get 77 awards, you guys are tremendously active. I mean, so my question was this: on your film, it was called Connection, that explores personal choices and environmental impact. I was curious, this is wild. I really want to understand this. Why did you decide to tell it through a fashion influences, journey? Why did you choose that? I'm sure there's a reason.
That's a really good question. Well, I feel like, how they say, Dr. Ben, that the next generation, the young generation is the one that are really going to continue to change the world, or will change the world, or has the capacity to do so. I think we really communicate to a Gen Z audience, which is a young generation. And so we're like, how are we going to reach this generation? So we decided to do it through style and fashion, and to reach an audience that wouldn't normally be able to accept an environmental message. We spoke to them in their language, and it's just fascinating. When we screen the film, they'll be like someone who's much younger than us, and they'll have a certain kind of realization about what they can do. Like, I'm going to turn the water off when I'm brushing my teeth to conserve water. And then someone else from a very different part of society will say something very different, like, I'm going to bring cloth bags to the supermarket instead of using plastic bags. So it's like we decided to communicate to a younger generation in their own language. That's pretty much why we did that.
Wow. That makes so much sense, but I want to validate your creativity and your imagination that maybe somebody else could take for granted, that I always get astounded by creative people like the both of you, and also comedians. And it's really a tremendous ability that you possess. And wow, that makes so much sense, because now it communicates and it reaches them. That's sheer genius. Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I can really say it. You actually, I can't give it away, but I'm actually tempted to do something as the moderator of the UN conference on some different things that came to my mind that I'm probably going to do, and it'll probably never been done before, and probably get everybody laughing, and I'm not going to tell you, and I won't tell the audience, and they'll just have to watch the future episodes, leave a little bit of mystery. But I like the concept. So I want to ask you, because there's another film you made. It's a Tombstone. It's a very interesting title. Again, I'm sure there's a reason for this, so you'll tell us. Tombstone Pillow was shot in a Manila cemetery, and God knows how hot it was in Manila, or the rain that you were encountering. And I was wondering, how did doing that and that experience of going through that as filmmakers and storytellers, how did that impact the production, you, the crew? Please.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Dr. Ben. I feel that sometimes we go through things in life that are really difficult for us and they really challenge us. Well, that was a film where we were subjected to extreme poverty and what it's like to live in extreme poverty. We're talking about people sleeping in tombs, going to school on tombs, eating on tombs. And it
Wow.
was a world in the Western world that we could not imagine living in. And it was really, really difficult to the point where our young actress, she was just, I believe, 10 years old at that time. She was so disturbed by what she saw that she couldn't perform. And so we really had to work with her to be able to accept this world and to empower her to do something about it, to help the people in the cemetery. And it was a really complex situation because the people in the cemetery, even though they had no physical or material wealth, they had so much spiritual wealth. They were so kind and so giving and so warm.
Right.
But that changed us. That changed us so much, that experience where we put ourselves into a risky situation and we were exposed to really difficult things. But it was a hard, to put 100 cast and crew through 3 days in a cemetery and to tell that story in extreme poverty. It changed us by making us extremely grateful for what we have. But then when we saw what we could do with storytelling and the impact that we could make and the awareness that we could bring, that really kind of like galvanized us as creators. Like, hey, we can really, really change the world with storytelling. So it was a very memorable experience, one that will never leave us, and I think it's sort of like our stamp that, where there's a situation, we want to be able to tell that story. We want to be able to go into these very difficult subject matters, but make them accessible to people in a way that's really entertaining, in a way that creates a positive impact.
Makes total sense. And, I was visualizing what you were describing and all the different emotions, and the experience is so different that, with that crew that was, I guess, was a crew mostly American, or?
It was an all Filipino crew. We did have a friend of ours from England, Fraser Scott, who wrote the script with us. We developed a story together. He wrote the script. We had some of our close friends with us, and I think that bond and teamwork allowed us to get through that really difficult experience and come out the other end with a tremendous win.
Wow. And so, so Bayou, I was going to ask you, how do the two of you balance this beauty that you put cinematically in your films, but yet over here you've got these really serious issues that, maybe get people reticent or quiet or don't want to really look at them. So how do you decide to go balancing this, and how do you do that to do these, successful films that you have?
Oh, thank you. Well, every time it's a little different. Like for example, when we did our film about texting, that was more, we were really hitting cultural things that were happening at that time, and we cast the actor that would get attention of others. And then when we did Tombstone Pillow, we really looked at films that we had admired, and we said, how can we create the aesthetics at that level, and then pull people in that way with the story. But also, how can we, then finally, Time is Eternal is another film, the woman empowerment film that you talked about here today in our biography. That one, Dr. Ben, we did the highest aesthetics we've ever done in order to bring in young people to look at our history. Cleopatra, it's basically a story about Cleopatra, and if she came back to life, and then she came and had a conversation with Mary Wollstonecraft, who was an 1800 writer, and we used the highest aesthetics to bring history back to the young generation, and also to make them think, as a woman, do I have power of the mind, or power of the pen, or power of the sword? Like, what is it that I am, that I am? Like, where's that power from me as a woman? And so each project is a little different, Dr. Ben, but every one has some sort of aspect that helps communicate that message. And it's usually through, I'd say, visuals, aesthetics, what's happening at that time.
Wow. That's beautiful. I wanted to ask, and either one of you can answer, is if you could share, and you probably have so many, but if you could share a moment where one of the film creations that you made either sparked like a change that you saw in the world, or just like a reaction in the audience that like, wow, look at what we did, you know, like that, yeah, like a 3-point shot, or, you know, you win that contest. Go ahead.
Wow, I would just say that, like, when we were showing Connection recently, we kind of screened the film and then we did a workshop, you know, and kind of empowered people on like 15 things that they could all do on a daily basis to make an impact on the world in terms of the planet's health. You know, anywhere from like, okay, plastic bottles. Many people drink out of plastic bottles, but they don't know that they're actually made out of fossil fuels, right? So that material is actually finding its way into the water that they're drinking, and people wonder why there's all of these diseases on planet Earth. You know, why is there such a increase in cancers and all these things? So just switching from plastic bottles to aluminum bottles or glass is a great way to not only help the planet, but help your own body. And then bringing, you know, the cloth bags to the supermarket instead of the plastic bags, having a home garden, planting trees, ride sharing, you know, supporting, like wearing organic cottons instead of, again, polyesters are made out of fossil fuels, plastics, you know, polyesters are made out of fossil fuels. So again, just what are those little things that everyone can do, changing what they wear, how they consume water, you know, creating a greater awareness about just little shifts that they can make, little habit shifts that they can make, and multiplying that times the 1,000 millions and billions of people on Earth. I feel like it's going to get us closer to our environmental goals, you know.
I would agree with you, you know. My wife and I actually are very big into like a home garden. And in our house, in the back, she's growing lettuce, spinach, the little strawberries were starting to come out. And oh yeah, it's like, and you know what? It's interesting. When I walk into that little house that we have where she's doing all this, I say to her, you know, I don't know what's going on. It's like I walked into a different universe when I walk in here. It's like I just walked in, but it's not the same. And it's really, you're so right. It's very therapeutic. And it really, there's like something that happens aside from just what you're doing physically that, I don't know, maybe the plants are just so happy that they're exuding their energy out into the environment, you know. And I want to ask you something, because I know that I'm used to the time flying back when we do such good shows, and so I don't want to lose out on all these questions I want to get answered. So here, I want to ask you this question. What advice, because I'm sure there's like a whole ton of people in there, come on, Dr. Ben, I want to make it like them. Ask them. So here's a question for them. What advice would you give those budding new filmmakers out there on how they can create content and make their creation, whatever it is, and then also insert a message that is got everything in it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think if you have the goal to be a filmmaker and artist, that you have to follow that passion, because it's like it's something inside of you that you can't explain, except that nothing can stop you. So if you have that, trust it. Trust your instincts. Don't listen to if anybody ever tells you have a backup career, don't listen to them. Just go for that dream, the ultimate dream, and just like surround yourself with people that know how to do it. Learn from the ones that you can, but then let your truth and your abilities shine through your own filmmaking. And so that's what I say. Don't give up. Keep going.
Yeah, and I'd say, Dr. Ben, like, think about a story that only you could tell based on the experience that you have, something that's very much in your own personal voice. I think that's really important, to do something that's a story that's uniquely you. And then in terms of like inserting a positive social message, I just feel the world needs filmmakers. The world needs artists right now more than ever. You can still do a horror film, or you can still do an action film, or you can still do a sci-fi film. There's always a way to put in, like, you could take us through incredible challenge and drama and conflict, but at the end, like, leave us with something hopeful. You know, there's always a way to put in a really important message into movies. I really believe that storytelling is perhaps started, thousands of years ago, with some kind of moral or some kind of concept of like, how can we grow as a human race?
That is so true, because it's so real, and you can visualize it. You can get yourself into the film, become the character. I love it. I've always loved it, and so you're so correct. So I'm curious. You've done so much, but so what is coming up on the horizon that you got like hidden away or something? So what do you guys want to be doing now? What do you have coming up, or what things are you planning for your future of dream team directors?
That's a really good question. I think we want to continue to collaborate with great people like the Coldplays and the Lindsey Stirlings of the world and the Michelle Pfeiffers, but we want to change laws. We want to be involved in being international speakers, and we're so blessed to be invited by you to speak at the United Nations, because that's the direction we want to go. We want to create global impact with our work, and not only make people aware, but help change laws and help change the paradigm of our planet Earth. So more visibility and more impact as speakers and filmmakers.
Well, I think that's fantastic, because that's what we need. And we need to, with a film, give example to some people maybe who have lost their way, who are despondent or frustrated, and maybe sometimes they get angry, and then later on they feel guilty what they did, or sometimes you lose themselves totally, and they really need help. So I think what you two are doing is an amazing thing. I want to ask you, we're at the end of the show, what final comment, and it doesn't have to be on specifically filmmaking, it can be on anything you'd like to give it on. What final comment would each one of you like to give for 2025 and beyond for our viewers and for the world?
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. I love that. So I would say, well, I just always say this, and to myself, to all my loved ones, my friends and families, and now the people here, please just follow your dreams, and don't let the naysayers tell you can't do it, and to believe that things can get better and that they will get better, especially when you work towards it and you yourself are as ethical as you can be, because that really is what makes things go. So, do what you can to help others, and I'm sure the help will come back to you. And so that's what I wanted to say.
Well, my beautiful wife took all the words right out of my mouth,
Well, you know what? My wife does the same thing. So that just means that you have a great relationship, and I really want to congratulate you. I've had a great time with you, and I want to let you know you changed my life, because I figured since that paper worked for you, my producer in the middle of the show, he said, "Dr. Ben, here." And he snuck it over here for me, and we got the paper. And so I'm really happy that you're going to be coming to the United Nations. And you know what? Let's make a little dream right now. I would like that we make the dream that at the United Nations in 2025, humanity discovers the beauty of life, of being able to communicate directly, of working with each other, and the fact that we're like a rainbow of colors, and that the world is a myriad of experiences. And it's so good, because I don't want to be bored like sometimes I was when I was in high school in the summertime and there was nothing to do. So I guess it's a good thing that we have all these different people come up with all these different ideas. What do you think of that idea?
Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
Well, thank you so much. My dream team machine people right here in front of us. Thank you so much for being on the show.
We are so blessed, Dr. Ben. Thank you for
Dr.
doing
Ben.
what you do. Thank you for having us. We're honored.
Oh, thank you for sharing your time and your ingenuity, your imagination, your creativity. I know there's a lot of people out there who are going to be following in your steps. And for all of you watching, let's support the dream team. Filmmakers. They're doing some really awfully good things. And they need to really, we have to support that in our world, because it's going to really change things for the better. Thank you so much. And for all you watching, we'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth. Good night.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet